probably was one of my most difficult times of my life, especially if you're young as well. So I don't have so my father left me quite early, or our family. So it was just my mom and 2 younger brothers and myself. So that not having the father figure really made it difficult. As I said, year 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, as a boy as well, in the area that I came into, it wasn't the most, the best area, or in the most respectful way. And it's difficult, I didn't expect that. So the challenges of terms of like the culture differences, and although English was not a problem for me, because that's what I studied English, and we studied the same course and the same GCSEs and stuff. It's the same thing that what we do in Pakistan. So that wasn't much of an issue. It's more how to integrate and become friends. And you, as yourself, how difficult it can be if you're not part of a group, getting friends at the age that, and when people know you're not from this country, it makes it a bit difficult. So there was days I used to go home and just like, oh mom, why are we here?
Hey, what is good, YouTube? Thank you guys for tuning in. My name's Gov, and welcome to another episode of the Property Newbie podcast. On this week's show, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Adam Rana, a Birmingham-based property investor who's gone from 0 to 22 serviced accommodation apartments in just over 1 year. In this podcast, we take it all the way back to Adam's humble beginnings and upbringing, and we go through advice that he can give to newbies that are just starting out, issues that he had scaling his business from 0 to 22 apartments in such a short amount of time, and of course the one thing that is affecting every business right now, the global pandemic, how it affected his service accommodation business, and how he came out the other side and not only survived but thrived. As always, if you enjoy the show, please be sure to like, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications for more videos like this. And if you want to listen to this podcast on the go, feel free to follow us on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But enough about that. Let's jump into it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Mr. Adam Rana. So we are live in 3, 2, 1. Mr. Adam, welcome to the show, my bro.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
I've been itching to get you on, legit. Right. And I had to catch you because you're flying away on business tomorrow, innit?
I know, man. All this COVID is over now, so I'm ready to go. To go. You know me, I love my traveling.
Literally took an hour out as well, man, just to do a little podcast to just share your experiences in the world. But there's a reason I actually got you on the show. So, guys, you ain't going to want to miss this because your story is just insane. But as always, when we start with the guests, I always get everyone to go back to the very beginning. Talk about their life way before property, because property always comes second, man. So tell me, what was a young Adam Rana like? What were you like at school? What were you like when you're in your younger years, man? Talk to me.
Right. Thank you first of all, Mr. Gov, inviting me on your Property Newbies podcast. I see you are doing well, so congratulations to you first of all.
Thank you, bro.
So I will give you a short rundown of my life, because I have lived quite a few years, even though I like to think I'm quite young. So I've got my starting point was essentially, I've mentioned it to a few people and few people know about this. So I wasn't initially not born in this country, so it was a big challenge for me to fly over here due to the various reasons and family reasons. So when I was 15 years old, so I'm 31 now. So 15 years ago, essentially, I came to this country. I was in a good school where I was in Pakistan, and then from there just coming straight here, catching up. Well, didn't have to catch up much. It was the same thing, and just like transferring schools basically. So essentially, that was a big challenge for me, having new friends. So leaving my old friends and having new friends, as people know, in year 10 and year 11, those are the days. You have your boys and you have your girls, and your groups made already. For those days, for me, it was literally, I had to come in, and I didn't have those groups. So, and my brothers were younger than me, so in different class and different years. So essentially, that was a big challenge for me. It's a big shock. I expected something else. I expected Hollywood. So I came here. Honestly, people don't know that when they live in this country. I expected literally I'm going to see Tom Cruise and Angelina Jolie walking around. So I did not see that. So that was a bit of a shock to me. But as a kid, all of these expectations are there, and people still have those expectations. So that was a quick school days, college days. Still getting to know. But I'm a quick learner. I always said to people, try and learn quick. I was never a school or an educational type of person. I just never believed in, I'm not smart. So anyway, so that made me feel a bit, under pressure, and I didn't have much confidence when I was in year 11, even in sixth form. It was when I decided to go to university, which I had to because my parents are required, you have to get your degree. So I ended up I studied mechanical engineering and becoming an engineer through university. It's the university period in Birmingham which really gave me the confidence, and as I really grew, I did a placement year, worked in industry for a year. It's just the different types of friends I had, so international friends, people from different cities. How universities are like, you get to live in halls and different places. That really, it's like, exploring. That's where I'm leading into this here, is just the exploring part really interests me, doing different things and challenge yourself rather than just like living at home, go out and do things. So that was the starting phase of me, what you see now, like Adam Rana, this is most of my friends are from 21, my age 21 to from 20. Most of my friends before that, like, I don't really in touch with them because my circle changed really quickly. And one of the main reasons is my idea of exploring and living that lifestyle, and that leads into my traveling. So I started traveling a lot, in different places. Started with going a few days like holidays, and then I said, okay, let's try a month and go to these places and there around the world. And then that led into getting a job, which again is your mindset. I try to make sure that I get a job where there's a lot of traveling involved and I can explore, I can mix business with pleasure. So ended up getting a job at Jaguar Land Rover in Coventry. I started working with them, traveling around, and then I spent about 2 years on and off in Shanghai in China. So that really gave me another step up. It's like it's totally different culture, from going from UK to living there, and what expectations of people, educational and institutional wise. So I worked in a high corporate job, very well paid, with different cultures and different teams of the same company in different countries. So again, I spent a lot of time on the weekend traveling around the area of China, Hong Kong, Singapore. I did all of these just to grow my confidence. And it's where you see me now. I really thank those times and thank my confidence to do it all alone. Just bear in mind, I was doing this all alone, just traveling around, doing these things. And this is age of 25, 26, so like 4 years ago.
Wow.
So I did a lot. There was a lot happening between the age of 19, 20 to now. Then what happened in between 15 to 20. So essentially, you still have time to do things, to never think that you missed out. So, at other times in your school days, you would be like, oh, I've got to do things now and I missed out. I didn't start till 20. I was a late grower. I blossomed late. That's what I like to think, right? Even now I'm still learning and I'm still like thinking, right, we think we don't have much time, but we have a lot of time to like learn things and learn from other people. So essentially that's my story, and here I am, that I started my business in end of 2018. Again, starting my business end of 2018, but I decided to say, okay, one last stint of a month and a half traveling in Thailand and in Singapore, in Malaysia, and all around trip I kind of did just to like finish it off and get into business. So I did that, and then essentially got into business properly, into service accommodation property business in 2019. So only a year and a bit ago, where I started actually put my effort in, put my passion into use, and got my properties, and here where you are and how I met you as well. Basically, it's essentially this is my journey.
I love it. To be honest with you, you said something there which actually kind of stuck with me actually. From like 21 or even 18 onwards, when you start university, it is really a character build. I think obviously during your early years, you're kind of finding your way. And then as you mentioned, as soon as you hit university, obviously you mix with a diverse amount of people. You've probably grown up a little bit yourself, and the confidence has grown a little bit. And from there, your life has just taken a completely different path. And this is the guy that we see sort of here today. But it was never always like that, I'm assuming, because to come from 15 years old, like 15, year 10, year 11, you got testosterone probably like going through the roof. I remember my school days.
Those were the hardest years.
The hardest years, man. And then to go from a country where you probably had friends and stuff, obviously, as well back home. And then to start school, how was that initial transition from leaving, obviously, your hometown, home country of Pakistan, to come in here and then trying to fit in at like 15, 16 and just getting used to a totally different culture and society? What was that period of time like?
So that probably was one of my most difficult times of my life, especially for young as well. So I don't have so my father left me quite early, or our family. So it was just my mom and 2 younger brothers and myself. So that not having the father figure really made it difficult. As I said, year 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, as a boy as well, in the area that I came into, it wasn't the most, the best area, or in the most respectful way. And it's difficult, I didn't expect that. So the challenges of terms of like the culture differences, and although English was not a problem for me because that's what I studied English, and we studied the same course and the same GCSEs and stuff. It's the same thing that what we do in Pakistan. So that wasn't much of an issue. It's more how to integrate and become friends. And you, as yourself, how difficult it can be if you're not part of a group. Getting friends at age that, and when people know you're not from this country, it makes it a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So there was days I used to go home and just like, oh mom, why are we here? Honestly, you look on news and you would be like, oh, people want to come to this country. Honestly, I'm grateful that I'm here. My life wouldn't be like this. But when I was young, age of 15 and 16, I was like, mom, over here, I have no friends. You come and pick me up at 3:30 when all my friends are hanging out with other friends.
Yeah.
Well, my supposed friends, and I'm not allowed to go after 6 o'clock because she was just worried about me because she's just a female. Alone, I'm the eldest kid. So those were difficult for me because I wasn't cool. Essentially, I want to make this very clear to young people that are watching. A lot of young people think, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing really well and I'm supposedly cool or whatever the word is, right? Trust me, mate. I had no friends. I got bullied, and I was not cool until what age? I don't think I'm cool now, but you know what I mean. That at those days, I had no friends. That was the biggest. Having no friends, as you know, it's tough, especially when you're young, and that doesn't make you cool when you're in school.
Yeah, this is the thing though, because your life could have turned out very different. You could have carried on being in your shell, but what happened was the exact opposite. You went to college, went to university, and then you talk a little bit about, we talk a lot on the show and obviously in our group, comfort zones. That's always thrown around in any business, but it looks like you just kept pushing it. Yeah. To even live abroad, you said you touched on it there slightly, that you lived abroad in Shanghai. And then, like I said, to travel as well, that's huge.
Exactly.
And it's a testament to the person that you become, to be honest with you.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things I really like to emphasize on is just like keep pushing. One of the things was, okay, yeah, I'm not cool now, or I'm not this now, or I don't know this now, but I can, because, for example, this country has loads of opportunities compared to other countries.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use that. I'm going to go make it happen, whether that's going to university or through an educational system to a corporate job, or whether you're an entrepreneur and going into a property business or a tech business or a startup, right? Whatever you like doing, because not everyone wants to do same as me or same as you. Just keep pushing, because time in 5 years, the compounding effect of 5 years or 2 years or 3 years is a lot more than what you see now and you feel now.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, you've come a long way from what you were describing from 18 to 30, and like you said, you still got a while to go in terms of like your life. But do you feel like if you didn't get out of your comfort zone, you wouldn't have been maybe as inclined to move into business, be your own boss, and all these things? Do you feel like there's traits there that have overlapped?
200%. This comfort zone thing is 100% true. You want to be getting out your comfort zone. If you want to go somewhere, you want to achieve something, get out your comfort zone. If you don't want to go somewhere, you just want a normal salary, you want to just chill and watch TV and hang out, by all means, stay on the sofa and watch TV and have a chill life. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having a family and just literally chilling. You can still have a family and really push yourself, but there are consequences out of comfort zone. So for me, that's what I wanted. I wanted to travel odd times, I wanted to travel for a corporate job. I'd take a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning and get told the night before that I have to get a flight. That's what I wanted to do at 24, and I knew that the benefits of that, who I'm going to meet in the lounge, in the airport lounge. I know what type of people I'm going to come across. So remember, your people you're around with is what creates you. So little things like, me using my corporate job smartly, being smart about it, saying, look, I know what type of people are going to be in the airport, first class and business class lounge, which my company is paying for. I can use that to grow myself, whether I want to get into property or whether I want to get into another startup business.
Very smart. You know what? It's crazy because it almost feels like you already had this in mind before you even started any of your property ventures, that, I need to surround myself with the right people. And you did that naturally through smashing your education. To be honest with you, getting a degree such as like engineering is in itself probably a challenge.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I can't even imagine. And then to get a job in not just any company, you got in obviously Jaguar Land Rover, which obviously is renowned. Don't really need me to talk more about that. Just to rewind it just a little bit, and we will get onto property because your story is just phenomenal. But one aspect of you which always springs to mind is the traveling side of it, right? So you've kind of touched on it a little bit there, and guys, I want to share some of these stories with you because they're just insane, man. But you've almost integrated your love and passion for traveling into a business or part of your business, or you've used that to help leverage your business. Before we get into how you've done that, just tell me a little bit about where this passion came from when it comes to traveling.
I think I've always believed in the books I've read and people I've spoken to when I was young. You know, traveling makes you a better person, makes you a storyteller.
I agree.
I can sit here and talk for 3 days to you because of my stories that I have through traveling. Well, that's not just going to a destination and spending 3 days in Spain or in Italy. It's more about, you know, the journey, you know, getting to different destinations, catching 3 or 4 connecting flights and traveling in different places, staying here and staying there. In hostels, so most of my time spent staying in hostels because I believe that's where the biggest impact of knowing the culture and knowing different people from around the world is.
True.
Rather than staying in a 5-star hotel, because that's where you don't get to mingle, you don't get to like really talk to the people that you want to help you grow. So my passion comes from basically I want to learn. Simple as that. Best way to learn is to go around the world and explore. You know, become an explorer, and you never know what business opportunities might come around in front of your face.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say that, and almost now as we'll get into your lifestyle and the choices that you've made have allowed you to travel just a little bit more, but you haven't wasted that time. And if anyone wants to hear Adam's stories, we're going to do a late night show at some point. Share some of these bad boys with people, man. But talk to me about how you've integrated traveling and actually turned it into a positive for your business, because when you were explaining this to me, and I've watched a couple of your interviews, I've watched you do obviously like the 5 a.m. club, and you've got your name out there on social media. I love tuning into your stuff. One thing that I said that I noticed with you is, like I said, you're able to go on holiday, but make the most of that time and actually use that time to bring back and actually leverage up your business. So do you want to tell people a little bit about that?
Definitely. I think one of my keys to success is every time I do something in life, whether I travel or whether I do this, I make sure I learn or get a return out of that situation or that journey that I'm on, whether they're short, whether like something like traveling that we want to focus on. So traveling, for example, like my service accommodation business that we're going to touch on in a minute, is essentially born out of traveling. So I traveled, stayed in Airbnb, stayed in different hotels, different apartments, and you know, in 2014 I think it was, where I met someone who's running an Airbnb in Dubai, and I spent quite a few going back and forward to Dubai, and I stayed with the same guy, and I built up a good relationship with him, you know. So that allowed me to think, oh, okay, it's a good way to get to network with more people, get to know more people. That's why Airbnb was initially born, like where you can be with locals and stay in apartments which are local to people. And so essentially I did that, and that was that helped my passion of turning into a business where I said, you know, I can come back and do something like that, because I was already investing in properties, buying buy-to-lets, just as soon as I graduated back in 2013. That was one aspect where I brought that idea back and I said, look, I'm going to do this, which here I am, I've done it, right? Second bit is, for example, raising finance or getting investors. So whenever I travel, when I would go somewhere, I tell people what I do. It's an overused word, but it's not used enough, as in physically you're not doing, actually people are not doing it, because whether it's their mindset, whether they're shy. You want to do that. Like, as I said, I'm traveling tomorrow. The first person I met that's sitting next to me on the plane, I'll tell them I run apartments, I run service accommodation, I invest in property. Not to brag about it, you want to tell them this is what I do. Like you would say, I'm an engineer, you know? So it's the same way. And I'm not thinking that he's going to be my investor. I'm just telling him because I want to build a relationship, just because either I may end up in the same hotel as him when I land, you know? I might end up going for a drink with him, or just become friends. Yeah. You know, my whole passion about networking, I did not know what networking was initially. For me, it was like, oh, I just want to have friends. I want to have this. I want to have a good circle when I was 20, you know, because I never had any friends when I was young, really young. So that allowed me to network into a business field and essentially naturally get into raising finance and investors and just growing my social circle.
I love that. You touched on something there that is so true. In terms of like back in your early years, you network for the sake of networking. Like you have friends for the sake of, you know, obviously you don't want to live a lonely life. You got to have friends in it. But obviously these friends might have come from different backgrounds. And then you've just taken that and you've realized that as you, whatever aspect of your life, whether you're sitting on a plane, whether you meet someone in a shop, whether me and you are talking right now, that person has a background, that person has a story, and can you connect and can you help one another? And by sharing your story and sharing what you do, that could turn into an investor, a client, someone who stays at one of your apartments. I mean, it's incredible. It's
exactly.
Incredible.
And one of the key things about these conversations is yes, tell them what you do, but ask them what their story is.
100%.
Like, people forget that. You really get into it. You're like, oh, I want to tell them I'm a property investor, right? Yes, you are, but say, look, what are you traveling, or do you travel here a lot, or do you go to this shop a lot, or these type of conversations, and that would get them to talk to you, and they will like you, and that is one of the key principles of building trust.
So one thing that you touched on, if you don't mind me sort of taking it back, is you mentioned there that even when you're in an airport lounge, even when you're sat next to someone in a plane, whether it's someone that you meet, like I said, local or otherwise, that they're potential investors, right? Now, this is often overlooked and sometimes forgotten. Like, I'm guilty of it. Like, when you say to me, like, I found an investor abroad, I don't know why, I just think to myself, a guy with like a yacht, slick suit, sunglasses on, that's what I feel like the profile fits when you say to me, like, there's an investor abroad. But are they like that? Or when you're talking to investors who have got money in different countries, are they just like down to earth guys that just look like me and you, or what are they like?
So in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other investors and property investors and entrepreneurs would agree, an investor's profile, he can look like anyone. So he doesn't have to have a yacht to have money. A lot of people don't go and show off their money. You have this image from TV and from movies or wherever. I can talk from my experience that most of my investors that come from, they don't have yachts, they don't have slick suit, they're just like normal person like me and you. They have money in the bank account, they don't publicly go tell people. They're one of those, a lot of people like to just keep their finances secret or don't talk about it so much, but when they build that trust and a rapport with you, they will invest in you, right? So a lot of my investors essentially came that way. So when I've traveled abroad, I would just tell people what I do, build relationship. Like, I don't want nothing out of it. You don't go and look for what I want out of it. I would just become your friend if I like you, or if I want to build a friendship with you, because I'm usually traveling around or in part of a group. And wherever I go, I'm just like a chatty person. I like to socialize, and that leads into some of them becoming my investors, essentially. Yeah. So I would go in and say, look, this is what I do. What do you do? What's your lifestyle? Do you travel a lot? Do you come here? And essentially that leads into becoming an investor. And they look like a normal person wearing a shorts and just having a drink or just hanging around in the same places that I'm hanging around. And most places I hang around with they're just medium level places or what do you want to call it, hostels, or not 5-star hotels. So there's your answer to that. I can give you an example for that. What's happened to me, the first investor was actually someone that I met in Thailand, on a remote island, whilst I was traveling for a month and a half in different places, and he was staying in the same hostel as me, where like people who stayed in hostels, they would know hostels are like usually they £8 a night, £7 a night, 7-8 people in the room. I was with 7-8 people in the room, and one of the guys was traveling for a month or so. He had a good job, and him and his friend were investors. And essentially, we shared our stories, came back to UK. He was from UK, and he said, "Oh, Adam, I remember you talking to me about it in December. Can we have a telecon? Can we have a teleconference to discuss this?" And essentially, from there, rest is history. He became our first investor, and a successful joint venture we ended up creating through that in property.
So just to sort of like rewind it just a little bit before we get on to the amazing work that you've done in property, because listeners, I'm telling you, they're going to want to know this. You went down a very traditional route. You went down a route of school, college, university. You got a good job, and fair play to you, well deserved. Obviously, you did an amazing degree. You got a good job, and it's very easy to get comfortable in these type of jobs, especially when you get the perks that you get. You got a good wage, got good hours. You get to travel, which is one of the things that you always wanted to do. But what made you want to leave that corporate world? Because for me, I always feel like when someone does leave that side, that corporate world, their job, whatever it may be, it always feels like they've thought about it for a while, and it's sort of like a build-up of thoughts, and then all of a sudden one day they've woke up and they've thought, right, okay, you know what? Now it's time to make the plunge into another area of life that I want to explore. So what was that lead up to that like, and what made you want to become your own boss?
So essentially, my very simplest advice that I'll give to new starters or new entrepreneurs is do not leave your job unless you're 100% sure that you're gonna make your money in your startup. Because sometimes you have to grind, you have to work all day and then work in the evening in a property business or a startup. That's what entrepreneurship is. It is. You can't think that you're just gonna switch like this. I still haven't switched properly. The reason I still haven't switched properly because I'm a person who likes multiple sources of income, right? That's what makes me, I feel that's what makes me wealthy. That's what makes me, eventually will make me wealthy and makes me, that gives me the lifestyle where I want to be. So I'm still contracting or still doing some work for my previous company where it brings me a significant amount of money or salary, and my property business gives me a significant amount of salary and different sources of income I have. What I did was, the transition was a slow transition. So essentially a quick transition over a year, but slow in terms of like a calculated one. So what I'm earning in my business, what am I earning, how many hours am I putting in, and what do I need to match my salary? So that is the transition. Yes, I've been thinking about it for 5 years before that, 2 years before that. That's what a lot of people do when you haven't taken action. It's true. I was the same as anyone else. I've been thinking since 22. Yeah, I want to have my own business. Well, until 28, I didn't start my own business, right? So essentially, the transition has to be calculated. So yes, jump ships. Yes, look to jump quickly as soon as you can, but make sure you've done your numbers. You put the graft in, and you're sure that you can cover your lifestyle and your day-to-day living.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think you've said something there which is really important, in the sense that, and I always, if anyone ever asks me, I always say the same thing, is that to start business, you need to have money, whether that be money coming in, whether that be a pot of money to actually start your business. But to outright quit with nothing to have to fall back on is a very, very dangerous position. Even sort of like similar to yourself, but I contracted for a year and a half, built up a pot of cash, use that time to educate myself before I thought, okay, now I want to dedicate X amount of time, full time to it. And then who knows, in the future, I might take a leaf out of your book and just go back for a couple of days and keep building that up. I like that. One thing that I wanted to ask you actually, which is something that I saw in an interview, and it kind of blew me away, but it is possible. You got your first deal, your first serviced accommodation deal, and the total money in was about sort of £3,500–4,000. Talk us through your first deal, because I know you got a bit of a taste for serviced accommodation when you said you were flying to Dubai and you were staying over. So you got a sort of feel for it, a lot of traveling, you got a feel for it. So tell me how you got into serviced accommodation, and talk to me about that first deal that you got under your belt.
So essentially, my answer to that is, for everyone that's listening and your listeners, is passion and customer service. Having a passion for customer service, essentially. So I always, as I grew up, I was like, I want to give the best service, I want to have the best product, and I want to have the best clients, right? That's how I got into service accommodation. That could apply to other industries, but essentially that's how it was. So people out there who want to do service accommodation need to have passion for these basic principles. If you haven't got that, you may struggle unless you can create that passion as you go along, right? So that was my first main step, and everyone has to have this step. It's my personal belief that people should have that step, which has got me to this where I am, right? Second, getting that deal is being persistent about it, going after, calling landlords, calling estate agents, looking for deals. It's being persistent about it, getting such a good deal at such a good rate right in the first one. It's just after rejection, and going after my target, what I had. So essentially that is how I've done it, having the passion, having rejections, finding the right landlords and estate agents, and having a clear goal and a clear objective of what I want and when I need it.
Yeah, no, I love that. You do have to, regardless of whatever you do in your life, probably even in your corporate job, there has to be some level of passion to it. Otherwise, before you know it, you'll just turn into a bit of a zombie. So tell us a little bit about your first deal. Why serviced accommodation was that route? Obviously, I know you said you've got a big passion for it.
So essentially, first deal is your hardest deal. I had loads of rejection. I had 2.5 months of rejection since I actually started putting more effort into going and looking for these property deals through different platforms. The first deal is the hardest deal, and the rest of them just come one after another once you get the first one. And it's a lot to do with your confidence. It's like, the first one when you're walking into the apartment or a house, meeting the landlord, it's always difficult. So one of the things I did from start was, try and build that rapport whilst first on the phone, getting to know that person. When getting there, getting to know that person, even before I got into numbers or offered any rent or anything. I got to know that person. Again, same principle as I applied before, where in my life is to say, what do you do? What's your, how many years you have this property? Those basic questions to get to know that person, why they're renting this, how many other properties they have, just to get to know them, what do they do in their life. These are the first steps that I did before I even got to what numbers, what I need to offer him, and if I like the property or not. And then secondly, you do your numbers. You essentially want to do your numbers before you even get to viewings. Before you get to meeting the person. You do your numbers. So when you're there face to face, you've done your numbers. If you like the property, you can make the decision within whilst you're there or within the 24 hours. So it's so in this game, you have to be quick. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people around. If it's a good deal, it won't last very long. So making that deal and making sure I built that rapport up. It's easier to, once you have that rapport, it's easier to get those numbers that you want essentially. So, rent reduction. So because I built that deal built a rapport with him, I spoke to him on the phone before. Rent reduction was one of the things. So, I got a reduction of, I think it was £50 less than what I would have, what they were advertised for. Got it furnished, for example, so that kept my overheads down.
Okay.
So I managed to say, okay, look, can we have this painted to this standard, because we offer a fair 5-star service to our clients, so we're going to keep it in that way. There's some selling points that I use. Is that our selling point is, our USP is that we are selling a 5-star accommodation, or we are selling a high level accommodation. So you as a landlord, or you as the owner of the property, will always have it in this condition. So these things always help you get the deal. So doing that, making sure the furniture, as much as I can, was furnished by the landlord. This was one of my strategies. They have changed as I've gone along, but the first deal, I managed to get it furnished from the landlord, hence keeping my costs down for the first deal.
Yeah, I've noticed something, that you're quite sort of diligent with your numbers. Like I've noticed, obviously, all the way through this, you're very much numbers orientated, because it's important, especially in business, as you can understand. I mean, in that scenario, you might not have had a massive pot of cash to start investing in, but you understood that, if I can get the apartment furnished, even if I can get the landlord to do a bit of work for me, this is a vision that I have, it needs to match that. But I don't have 10, 15, 20,000 pounds to just do it up the way that I wanted. I just need to get started and put things in place. That's amazing. And how many apartments have you got now?
So we have 22, I think. I'm not sure of the exact number. It's not been easy. It's not been an easy journey. It's been tough. Like, I like people to know it's been tough, but very rewarding and very much fun at the same time. If you're not having fun, there is no point having 50 apartments or 100 apartments. It is about numbers, but it's not about numbers if you're not having fun, right? So after the first deal, they came like buses. You might have heard that literally. One after another deal. Again, relationships, building those relationships with the same landlords. One of the key things that I did to get to this number was knowing one landlord and knowing his friends who are landlords. Right?
Okay.
This is a very basic thing people miss. People try and look for new business into new business avenues, right? You can get repeat business from the same person or his friends or family. There are ways to go about it. Again, the ways are very simple. Build relationships.
Nah, I love that. It just literally just everything just ties in. Like, a lot of your story makes sense. And when you're saying this and you're hearing it for the first time, and you hear a bit of your background, in the sense that you've always been a networker, even in your early years without realizing it, you've done it throughout your job. You now do it with your landlords. And as you mentioned, once you provide a good service and build a good relationship with someone, that's a lot more than just business related. They will 100% recommend you to their friends, family, and then that just helps you scale up. But to scale up, by the way, from 0 to 22 apartments in the space of a year, 12 months? How is that? Like, how did you feel? Because for a lot of people, including myself, that would be incredibly overwhelming. I mean, there's with the rent-to-rent model as well, you've got to understand that rent is fixed for the duration of the time, and regardless of whether you have a void or not, whether you have people in there or not, you're still paying that rent. And then to multiply that up by 22 apartments is phenomenal, man. But how did you find the process from your first apartment, and then how did you find it scaling up all the way up to 22? Was there anything you found difficult or struggled with?
Of course. So scaling up is always difficult in any business. Having 1 to 5 apartments, it's difficult, but it's not as difficult having 15 to 5 to 20 apartments. It's just you're doubling the workload, you're doubling the cost, you're doubling. Yes, you could be doubling the profit, but the time, you're doubling the time. So all of these that come there, there's your challenges are just doubled essentially. So what you need to have systems and processes to make sure those challenges that you're going to create for yourself to get that extra profit or the double the profit, you want to have processes and systems. So yes, to answer your question, it was very difficult. Very challenging rather, but the rewards were there. The rewards were there because I put the systems and the processes in, which are still improving. Remember, you can put systems and processes in, but you want to continuously improve yourself and continuously improve your business to keep thriving for the best result, or in a monetary term, or in just a business structure way. So essentially, the biggest challenge was scaling. Scaling was the biggest challenge from having the right processes, having your suppliers to meet your demand. Sometimes you can have your cleaning and housekeeping company, which they could do 5 apartments or 5 houses. It's when you have 21 checkouts or 22 checkouts on a Sunday. They were used to doing 5 or 4, within a year. Then that means they need to up their manpower. They need to up their systems. There's a lot of things people need to think about. So it's not for everyone, but everyone can do it. If you, it's not rocket science. I didn't do a degree in this. I didn't do a course in this or anything like that. You can learn this through other people, through your social network, or through coaches or mentors. You can learn this. Scaling the right way is possible by having the right system, the right processes in place.
Just to go back there, you mentioned about cleaning. So obviously, as you mentioned, when you were first starting out and you've got a couple of apartments, a small cleaning team can handle that. 100%, yeah. How did you use multiple cleaning teams, or did you get that one cleaning team to expand their team so that they could accommodate yourself?
So I went through different phases. Again, it's all a learning game. Business is all about learning. So I went through different phases. Having a small team, I tried to help them to expand. But remember, this is why it's important. When you hire a supplier in any business, or for example, in service accommodation, you hire a cleaning company, one of the first questions you need to ask them is, what is your vision as your business, right? What is your vision as a supplier? So they may not want to clean 22 apartments, and I am thinking, I'm going to have 22 apartments by end of December. It's going to fail. It's a recipe to failure, because they're never ready for it. They haven't got a passion for it. All they want to do is clean 2 of yours, 2 of here, 2 of someone else's, and 2 of someone else's. That's what it is. These are the things. This is the mistake I made. I had my vision, never shared my vision with the supplier. This is not just the clean. This could be your linen supplier. This could be your consumable supplier. This could be your maintenance people. This could be your team. This could be anyone. Make sure you share your vision with them and understand what people want, what's their vision as a corporate business and as an individual who's working for you. So that's what I did. So I had to change. Then I had to change my cleaning companies several times. I had to change my cleaning companies several times. It's not easy. Don't get stuck with one company that you've taken and think they're the best company. They could be good at that time, but you got to keep evolving and keep going. So one of the things I did was, we're trying to do what you just said, trying to grow their team. Didn't work. Trying another company that didn't work. And then I'm with another company which mostly aligns with our goals, and they have the same vision and we have the same way of thinking. Again, we don't know where we will be in the next 12 months, but because we're a company that keeps evolving, and as a person, I want to keep, striving for the best. So as always, share your vision with people and understand what other companies and suppliers are doing.
That's quite powerful, because to be honest with you, you didn't just grow your own business, you grew businesses that wanted to align with you as well. I mean, for a cleaning company to turn around and have someone that's all of a sudden up their workload, so they can employ more, so they can make more, and then you've got a good relationship with them and you're both growing together, and you've got this long-term vision, because you're not in property just for 12 months, 24 months. This is a long-term goal for you. That's absolutely phenomenal. To get into a little bit sort of deeper, for any newbies that are watching this, a lot of them will struggle even for their first deal, especially when they're just starting out. It takes a lot of graft, it takes a lot of grind. They'll get there. But what advice would you give specifically for anyone that's going out hunting for service accommodation apartments? What's your process on how you do it?
One of the biggest learning experiences that's been over the last 12 months for me is make sure the properties that you're choosing align your vision, again, aligns your targets of what you want to do. So if you want to do a luxury model, don't chase any other properties to make sure the property matches your luxury checklist. So essentially create a checklist. It's not difficult. So if you want to target a contractor market, what do the customer wants? So your avatar wants this. You create a checklist and you only go after them properties. Where I made a mistake, and I'll happily talk about it, because I couldn't get my first property or the second property, or they came really quickly. One of the reasons they came very quickly, because I took on some properties which I had given back now, which is okay to do. I've taken on some properties because I said, oh, okay, another deal, and the numbers worked, but essentially didn't really suit my main objective or the goal of my avatar, of my client, right? So never forget the basic principle of what you need, who's your avatar is, and make sure you are only going after those deals and getting them deals. Yes, there's going to be a lot of rejection. Yes, you have to keep going and keep going. Those are examples you probably have given and advice you've given before. You got to keep pushing yourself, keep chasing deals, keep chasing landlords, keep chasing estate agents. But essentially, don't forget, you want to get the right deal and the one that you have set out in your objectives and your goals.
Nah, that's very true. I think a lot of people forget that is look at the customer and work backwards sometimes. Like look at who's going to be actually staying in the apartment and then find the apartment that fits them, especially if that's who you're going to be targeting to. Did a lot of your deals come through estate agents or were they direct to landlords? And was there a process behind that?
So most of my deals came through direct to landlords. It's just, this is what I preferred. I had more success through direct to landlords. I found that it's easier to build relationship with one-to-one rather than through another person in the middle. Yes, an estate agent can give you multiple deals if you have the right relationship with them, which we have now. But initially as a newbie, when I started, most of mine was like, let me work with one-to-one person. That's where I was good at. So work out if you're good at working with businesses such as estate agents, or you're good at working with one-to-one landlords, you're good at talking to them, going to talk to them in the evening after work, or you can have that personal rapport with someone. I was good at that, right? So I targeted that and it paid off for me. So I would go search on different platforms like Gumtree, Open Rent, Facebook Marketplace, another one, Rent for Rent. I would keep searching every day, and to my checklist, as much as I had, as good as it was at that time, and one will stick out of 100. I've always said to my friends, and someone told me this when I was younger, if you knew there's 100 doors, right, to open, and only the last 3 are going to open, you're not going to stop at 50. You're not going to stop at door number 60, because the last 3 are still going to open. So essentially that theory I applied, and I said, okay, I know the last 3 doors are going to open, or the last 10 doors are going to open. I'm not going to stop at number 75. But if you didn't know that, people end up giving up. So that's one of the thought processes I went through. So that kept me pushing. There is no sort of secret recipe to get an apartment. It is as simple as knowing your numbers, knowing your checklist of what you're looking for, and going out there and making that fit to the deals that are available, and building that relationship, and starting the deal off in there. It's simple as that.
Yeah, you say something that's quite powerful in the sense that you don't have to do anything that's special or new. It's just a case of persistence, knowing what you want, knowing that it's out there, and just keep grinding and grafting for that. One thing that I wanted to touch on is you've actually now got employees that actually work for you, which is just unbelievable. I mean, even like starting out 12 months ago, was that ever your goal, or did the evolution of your property business require you to get employees? Did you always have that in mind, or was it a case of, right, I've got no choice now because this is getting busy?
So it's a 50-50, or essentially more than a 50-50. Like 70% was my target in my life, or a vision in my life, that I'm going to have a culture, and I have a good culture. I'm going to have a team where I can have my own principle and values in my team, and we as a family, the team would be my family, and this is my enterprise that I've created. But of course, as you said, the other side was the business needed it as well. Growing a business so quickly needs people. People make your business. So again, if your listeners or someone has goals, they want to be big, they want to create an enterprise, and they're going to have an empire. Yes, you need to be thinking from day one, I'm going to have a team. Hence you need to start creating processes, automated processes, manual processes, and then you want to start thinking from day one, yes, how do I create this deal? How do I make this deal work, or the process work, where one day when I have teams, or when I have employees, they will be able to work the way I work, right? So I think my first employee was 7 months into it, 6-7 months into it. Essentially, that made it easier because my vision was always having a team, right? But essentially, scaling a property made me have those employees and people hiring staff members, and more people in the team.
Yeah, it's quite an achievement. It's something that you keep doing. As I mentioned, you were growing the cleaning company that you're working with. You're employing people and getting them paid. You're growing yourself as a company and as a business. This is not a part-time thing for you, and you get that sense from before you had even started, and you had this crazy passion for it. You've started and you've not stopped since. Just regarding sort of current events in the world, everyone knows what's going on regarding the pandemic, lockdown. One of the hardest hitting industries were hotels, leisure, service accommodation. How has your business been impacted, and how have you found this whole last 3 months or so? Have you had to change anything? What was the situation like?
So essentially, as probably everyone knows, it's difficult. It's been challenging for everyone, but it's what you do about it. Challenges are always going to be there in businesses, any business you run. So when you start a business, everyone should know that there are going to be challenges, ups and downs. That's what makes it a business. That's what makes it fun, right? If you get through it, that's when you're gonna be, you're gonna shoot to the sky. You're gonna make it. So what we had to do, we had to react quickly and efficiently when the last 3 months of lockdown that's happened. So we had to change some of our processes. We had to become leaner, increase marketing, such as we didn't do Facebook ads. So we started doing Facebook ads to target different types of clients, such as key workers. So one of the steps that we took was to target key workers, NHS staff, key workers that are working in supermarkets or on contracts that are here in the city. So we suddenly had to shift our model through different types of marketing and different types of advertising to fill our rooms. And we were up to 90% successful. Like we managed to fill most of our rooms. Be it that we didn't make the profit that we were making, and that's just true across the industry. No one was making if any profit, but we managed to cover most of our overheads. Managed to cover most of our bills. So as you got to remember, in this type of business, the fixed overheads are quite high. Our fixed overheads are like over 15 to 17 grand a month, and we want to keep that relationship with our landlords as much as I can. The reason I started the business was to make sure I have good relationship to grow a good business. I don't want 1 or 2 months to ruin the relationships with the landlords I have. Yes, you could get a rent deferral. Yes, you could not pay someone rent, but I did as best as possible to make sure that we paid people on time. All our employees, all the cleaners got paid on time, essentially by taking these actions of acting quickly and taking swift action.
Did you have to either because I know obviously up and down the country you were getting a lot of people that were being furloughed. Did you have to lean up on the employee side? Did you have to lean up on the apartment side? What areas were you sort of like, you know what, we've got to keep our advertising because that's filling our rooms, but we might need to cut back a little bit on this?
So we had to let some of our staff go because of various reasons at that time, because of COVID, but we didn't need those services at that time because of COVID, because the customer demand had dropped. So yes, unfortunately, when the lockdown happened, I still remember making this call to one of my staff members and said, look, unfortunately, we just can't have you. We can't have you working. And, it was done in the best way and the most nicest way as possibly can be done, but it's never a nice thing to tell someone, right? That's one. Yes, we had given maybe 1 or 2 apartments back due to the reason that we realized. So when people go through a business, go through hardships, you realize where you were wasting money, where you were doing wrong. One of the biggest lessons that we had, and I'm grateful that COVID happened in a way. My business is much leaner than it was before. So people, whether you're starting a business now, whether you've been in business for a few years, when bad things happen, I think we always should look at the positive and say, look, it's allowed me to rethink my strategy. It's allowed me to rethink where I want to be in the next 6 months or the next 2 years or 1 year, and what changes I need to make. Because yes, it was working. Yes, I was successful before, but there's always room for improvement. So essentially we changed some of our processes. We defined some of new processes so to be more efficient and more effective going forward. We increased our direct bookings leads. So it's something called direct bookings in a service accommodation, where you don't use different travel agents. You get your own leads through different forms of advertising. So one of the positives that happened, that we've got higher direct leads, which are converting into bookings, which we didn't have before.
So obviously, as you mentioned, you've gone from 0 to 22 service accommodation apartments, which is amazing. You touched on something earlier in the interview, earlier in the podcast even, when you were talking about your first buy-to-lets. Is that a strategy that you still go down, or have you ventured out into other property strategies?
Yes, and I always advise or give my opinion to some of my close circle and stuff. Obviously concentrate on one thing, but always have multiple sources of income or multiple revenue streams, especially after COVID-19 has happened. That's made me realize that I need to have multiple streams of income, because if one income stream shuts or goes bust, what you're going to do, you need to have different income coming in. So essentially, I think one of my first investment was a buy-to-let after graduating. So saved a little bit of money, just invested in one, and it worked out well for me, and then I bought another one, and buy-to-let has been one of my key base strategies that I've always done. And I always say to people, in my opinion, the buy-to-let will always be a safe and a vanilla investment, but it's an income stream that will pay your bills, or as many, if you have 10 buy-to-lets, then you'll make your life comfortable. So I've always done that. Then I got into service accommodation, and after COVID, as I said, I'm doubling down on my buy-to-let investments as one of my more secure incomes, and which is more consistent over hardship or bad times.
Nah, I love that. I think that should always be the end goal. I think the real wealth definition is actually owning the asset, and buy-to-lets is a great way to
Correct.
do that. Had a couple of questions come in, so we're going to do this like quick fire 1 minute.
Sure.
Because obviously, as you can see, guys, like literally questions coming in left, right, and center for yourself, man. I know everyone hits you up in your DMs and stuff as well, which is amazing. All right, quick question for newbies that are just starting out, and one thing that you do particularly well is raising finance. What advice could you give them if they've got no prior experience, no prior history, no prior projects, but they want to raise investor money, finance, and to be able to work on the projects that they want to work on?
Right. One of the advice I would give from my experience is, again, build that trust, and first of all, look close within your circle. Work with people close within your circle. I know a lot of people don't like working with family and friends, but those people, you're already skipping one step of building that trust in a relationship. You have that relationship with your dad. You have that relationship with your best friend or someone that you know for a long time. They'll probably be one of your best investors. You're skipping that trust. You already have that trust built up with them. As a newbie, that allows you, because you haven't done a property before, you haven't done a deal before, that allows you to get that investment. Second is, again, give people confidence, so believe in yourself. So believe in yourself and show people, like, you know, you're getting this training, or you're working with someone like yourself, you know, so people would know. People can, if you work with other experienced people, JV with people, so if you joint venture with people, that shows you're bringing other people's experience. One of the things I do to help some of the newbies, I've worked with some friends of mine who I've got experience and they haven't, and we've gone together and raised finance, and we work together, but my experience counts as their experience because we're working together. So work with other people who have experience already to kickstart your journey, and obviously build trust for new investors. You know, talk to them. There's a saying, and I'll be quick about this, you know, like 7 touch points. You know, it's not you can't get investment the first time you meet someone. You know, it's a gradual process. You know, I have investors I've known for 3-4 years, and they haven't invested until last month, right? People might think, listening, that I have a lot of experience and I've done okay, but not for everyone. You know, some people want to see that journey. Some people want to watch me on Facebook over the last 3 years. I have got investors who are from my university days who have not spoken to me for the last 5 to 6 years since I graduated, and now suddenly they've been watching me for 5 to 6 years, or the last 2 years consistently, and said, "Oh, okay, now I want to invest with you." So put content out, tell people what you do, build that trust. I would say look close within your circle, within your social circle, because you can easily skip, because your trust is always there, and work with other people to joint venture who already have experience, to use that as leverage to sell your deals or sell your brand to new investors.
Mate, that's phenomenal, man. It literally mirrors what Saj is saying. Obviously, said a couple of weeks ago, you two are just amazing at raising finance, and your advice is absolutely spot on. So I know a lot of people get value from that. Last question, and then we'll call it a wrap. If you were going to go back 12 months and give yourself advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say as I like to think I've done okay, but I would like to hang out with, I would like to expand my social circle or my networking circle to the people that I aspire to be, more than what I did. So essentially, for example, I'll take an example of scaling my business so quickly. To a certain extent, it was successful. If I had worked with people who've got where I want to be 1 year ago, I feel I would have got there quicker, or not quicker, more efficiently, with more leaner, and wasting less money or time. If I had worked with people who've already got 22 apartments or 25 apartments. So one of the tricks of the trade is always trying to hang out or work with or get coached by someone who's 2-3 steps ahead of you, because that'll make it easier for you, more efficient rather than easier. It'll make it efficient for you, because you'll not make those mistakes. And one of the things I would say, I keep banging on about process and systems. Create process and systems from day one, right? I did create process and systems because I scaled too quickly. I didn't create all of them. You know, I missed out. So until today, right now, my team is working on updating some of the process system as we speak on this podcast right now. Why? We say you should have done this 12 months ago. No, it's not. In real life, you can't just do everything if you're scaling so quickly. So yes, maybe I would work with more experienced people at the start and be able to create more processing systems right from day one. So I'm not in trouble after 12 months.
No, I love that. It's almost like channeling your energy and having someone on the side of you to just help keep you in check, because obviously you're going to make a lot of mistakes on the way. That's only natural. Adam, whilst I just give you a quick summary about what I think, man. So obviously you kind of popped up on my radar. Obviously, as soon as I started property, I started to see some of your posts because you were quite helpful in the group. Obviously, the Property Newbie group, you were giving advice out. I know your DMs and everything is always open. But just knowing a little bit more about your story today it's just phenomenal how far you've come, man. To be a 15-year-old kid, to come to this country at a difficult time, to then turn around and probably be quite shy initially, to then be continually pushing your comfort zones, to go through college, to go through university, to get a good job, and then to sort of reignite your passion for traveling, living in different countries, and then to channel all of this and almost package it up, and maybe not even knowing that it was almost like meant to be for you to be your own boss. You just didn't know what it meant at the time. It's just phenomenal. And to go from 0 apartments, just applying the little that you know, and being diligent with your numbers, to scaling all the way up to 22 apartments is just phenomenal. And looking at your face, obviously you're not even fazed by it because your plans are so big. Like it's unbelievable. But for a lot of people that are watching this, like you said, you don't do nothing special. You don't do anything that's out of the ordinary. You're just persistent, resilient, and you know what you want, and you won't stop till you get it. And I love the fact that service accommodation, you're providing employees, you're providing jobs, you're providing growth for other industries, but that's not all the be all and end all. You're venturing off into buy to lets. You're working on other projects, which I'm sure will come out in the next couple of months. You're just a driven, phenomenal individual. And sometimes I feel like maybe you just need to take a break and just go, right, look at how much I've achieved, because it feels like your life's at 100 miles an hour, and you're a massive inspiration for a lot of us, man.
Thank you very much.
I want to give you a little cheers, man.
Thank you.
I even know we need a little top up with these, man. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking time out of your day. I know you're incredibly busy, man. Have a safe journey, and this will only be the beginning, man. We'll have to do a part 2 for sure.
So I just want to give in like last few 3 pointers to people. You know, don't have to, look at me. I'm just an ordinary person, as you said. I just work not hard. I work smarter, or at least I try. So do that. Work smart. Always have the right social circle, and trying to hang out with the people who you want to be like. So your net worth of the average of the people that you hang out with. You must have heard that. And the last thing is, just keep your passion up and keep pushing yourself, and you will make it. Everyone can do it. If I can do it, everyone can do it.
I love that. Like I said, just talking to you, there's just so much passion. For anyone that wants to connect, obviously we put links to everything in the description. My biggest advice is connect with Adam on Facebook and tune into some of the shows and lives that he does, because you'll just get unbelievable value from there. But Adam, thank you very much for coming down. Guys, until next time, peace out.